adapted from Reverend Sarah Stewart, who serves the First Unitarian Church in Worcester, Massachusetts. Bring who you are as you enter this morning. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your recommitment to good. Bring yourself and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of God, to the presence of love, to the presence of great mystery, to the presence of beloved community. Here we are trying to work together on the peaceable way, trying to witness one another across division, committing ourselves to eliminate hatred and all that separates one from another. We try and we fall short, but held in love, we try again. We come together this morning as a community to join together in prayer and song and caring and in deep listening, to remember our promises to one another and to a world in need, and vow to live by them once again. Come, let us worship together. Good morning. My name's Laura Thompson. I'm the minister here. Linda Hayen, supposed to be the worship associate today, but maybe with the time change, I'm not sure. Anyway, I wrote the script, so I'll read the script. Richard, I don't know if you can the camera catch me to put me up there so people can?
We can see you.
Oh, there you go. Great. We welcome you to this community, whether you're here in person or whether you're on Zoom live or whether you're on YouTube next Tuesday. Welcome. It's a joy and a blessing to be in community with you on these lands that we acknowledge as the spiritual, ancestral, and contemporary homelands to the Dakota people. If you're joining us for the first time, we invite you to fill out the visitor form. There's one in person here, a paper one downstairs. If you're on Zoom or YouTube, you can find that in the chat or the comments. A couple of announcements before we begin. There will be hard cider and wine tasting after the service today. I'm gonna need that. I've had a morning already, so thank you to our guest speaker, Herdie Baisden, who brought that today. We hope you'll stick around for that. Speaking of enjoying things on the service, next Sunday, Music Sunday, hooray! Do we have a full docket of entertainment? Yes? Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. And then afterwards, we have the auction. Jean, do you want to say anything about the auction? You can use the pulpit. Can I do it with this one or that one? You can use the pulpit. That might be better.
Okay, the auction. It's all a silent auction. For that, you need a bid number. To get a bid number, it costs $10. If you're a family, one bid number works. Also on sale, we have raffle tickets. The raffle, we gather all the raffle tickets. They start at $2, but they're cheaper by the dozen. Okay, you can buy raffle tickets. If you win the raffle, you'll win half of the money collected for the raffle. So if we collect $100, you get 50, we get 50. Thirdly, there's a game we play kind of as a stretcher in the middle of the service. And we do it with beads. It's called heads or tails. Everybody that has a bead, is wearing beads, stands up. You either put your hands on your head or on your tail. Laura will flip a coin. If you have your hand on your tail and she calls heads, you sit down. The last one left standing wins a prize. That's that. If you want to have an idea of what is being offered at the auction, Karen Olson has done a marvelous job of making little posters around. There's some straight in the back and on each side of the sanctuary doors. Gives you an idea of just some of the dining and the art and crafts areas. But we also have services, we have entertainment, we have lots of stuff. If you don't want to do anything but you want to contribute, there will be a space for that too, a special space where you can just donate money. After the auction's over, you leave. We'll compile everything during the week and email you what to do next. See you next week.
Thanks, Jean. Did you mention the appetizers? I was
what?
Did you mention appetizers?
Oh yeah, potluck appetizers.
Potluck appetizers, so bring some snacks or appetizers to share if you want, so we've got plenty to fuel us through our spending frenzy. And we're going to continue the service now with our opening hymn, which is, I think it's 121.
Yes.
We'll build the land.
My name is Linda Hay, and I'm the worship associate who was supposed to be here an hour ago, but I forgot about daylight savings time. So sorry. So now will you please join me in our chalice lighting? We recognize the fragility of life and our own vulnerability as we navigate the challenges that always seem to come. May this light remind us of the strength we possess as individuals and collectively as a community to lean into and respond, finding our way forward together. And that was adapted from Reverend Telos Whitfield. Are there any children? There are some children here. Oh, how wonderful. So now we will be singing out the children.
Where you go, I will go, children. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, children. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine.
Each week we set aside a few minutes to lift up the joys, gratitude, and concerns that we carry. You are invited to share here in person by raising your hand and waiting for an usher to bring you a microphone. Folks on Zoom can write it in the chat, and folks on YouTube, we invite you to use the comment section. And I do have a couple of joys. Our former MBUF Minister of Children, Youth, and Families, Andrea Johnson, has defended her thesis with honors at United Seminary and will henceforth now be the Reverend Dr. Andrea Anderson. Congratulations. And another sorrow, Waldo Asp, who I believe is still a current member here, is that correct? Is being moved into hospice care. Please keep Waldo, Irene, and their family in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this difficult time. Anyone else?
Is on. The Social Action and Racial Justice Committee hosted the Friday Community Fellowship Gathering, that 2 days ago? Yeah. Anyway, we had a fun time in intergenerational activity, making signs about things that we cared about, and things that the fellowship we felt like could get involved in the world, the broader world. We have these signs. McGirt has them, and we'll be handing them out after the service to take home some of these messages that came from our hearts. If you can't take care of veterans, don't have a war. Good example.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Collins, and today is my mom's, Jean Paul, birthday.
Just to piggyback on that one, happy birthday. And tomorrow is my son Gabe's 19th birthday, so it's a good birthday week. Yeah.
I'm Jody Gray. Two things now. On Saturday is David's birthday, not 19. And I know everyone is, maybe not everyone, most people are kind of tired of the snow. But yesterday, when it was snowing, I was in Shoreview to see a small art gallery. And I saw a snow that I've never seen before, and it was really cool. It looked like Dippin' Dots. And it was just amazing. So even though it's snow in March, it was very beautiful snow in March.
Is there anything on Zoom, Holly? We lift up what has been shared and those joys and sorrows that remain silent in our hearts. Will you please join in singing our song response? Oh, did you want to give the weather forecast? Very briefly?
Sorry, brothers and sisters. Except for a slight warming trend on Wednesday, probably upper 30s, low 40s, with a chance of rain. Our snow will continue. Be at 77 point something inches of snow right now. Over 77 inches. We've gotten probably 2 to 4 inches over this last storm. We have another possible storm coming up toward the weekend next week. So we'll be approaching 80. Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll get them 2 10-inchers and we'll hit 100. Keep them cleats rolling. We had to use them again over the last 24 hours. It got all icy after the storm yesterday and this morning. Keep that winter gear handy, them snow shovels, them cleats, them winter coats. Paul Douglas, y'all know who he is, right? Yeah. He went out on a limb this past week, and guess what he said? I will not be surprised if it hits 90 degrees in April. Think about our wonderful extremes.
Thank you. For our centering space this morning, we offer the meditation, When You Are Weary, by Jess Reynolds. And following the reading, we'll have a minute for silent reflection. Waking up is enough. Putting on shoes before you walk out on the wet leaves, the snow, that plaster the driveway is enough. It is enough to love one person, one dog, one tree in the neighbor's yard, one 50-cent mug at a thrift store. Turn on the radio in the car. You let a minivan merge into your lane during rush hour. After 3 weeks of half darkness, you change the light bulb above your desk. It is enough to breathe, to put your face in your cold hands and tell your palms and the empty kitchen that you don't know what else to do. You open the blinds just enough to see if the mail carrier has come today. You turn your head at the sound of a musician on the street corner, their guitar slightly out of tune. You buy bananas at the supermarket and eat all but one before they turn to mush. It is enough to be here, to drink cold water from the tap, to fall asleep on the couch with a cat in the crook of your knees. It is enough to be alive. Our Sunday sharing partner this month is our own MVUUF Scholarship Fund for Camp Unistar, which is a UU family camp for folks of all ages located up north on Cass Lake. Camp Unistar invites individuals, couples, families, and groups of friends to join them this summer for a week fellowship in an absolutely stunning setting. Check out their website, campunistar.org, for more information. So half of the offering, which we'll be taking now, will be put toward that fund, which helps our youth and families be a part of this wonderful experience. Will the ushers please come forward to take the offering?
To one of the lounge areas at my apartment complex. I wheeled myself down here for a change of scenery, and this current scenery is that it's snowing. Yeah, one thing we know about Minnesota weather in March is that it is unpredictable. It's snowing this week, and it can be 60 degrees and sunny next week. Let's hope. I don't know if that's the forecast, but I hope so. One thing that we don't want to be unpredictable, especially in March, is our pledge drive. We want our pledge drive to come out with some predictability so we can forecast what our budget is going to be for next year. So members, you would have received a pledge packet in the mail just in the last couple of days. Please look at that. Inside you'll find a pledge form that looks like this. You fill it out with your name and your information, and then there are ways that you can give on there. You can choose to give a certain designated amount. You can choose to keep your pledge the same as it is, or you can increase it by a certain percentage point. That would be great if you want to increase your pledge 3 or 5 or 10% or 20%. That's fantastic. We love that. You can also increase your pledge by a specific dollar amount, like $200 or $500, or whatever you wanted to add to your pledge for the 2023-24 church year. Keep in mind that this budget will start in July, so anything that you put on here, those payments won't be due until after July. You can also do this online. That's how I do it every year, actually. I mean, it's nice to get the pledge information in the mail, which is a reminder for me to go online and do it. Go online, you simply go to our website, midvalleyuu.org, click on the top where it says Pledge Online. That'll take you to the pledge page, and there you'll click on the 2023-24 year number, and that'll take you to the pledge form, which pretty much looks like the paper one that I just described with the same options. Enter the amount or the percentage that you want to increase, or you can enter a dollar amount that you want to increase from last year. Our members, we'd love you to send in your pledges by March 26th for the coming year so that we can get that budget forecasted for next year in time for the annual meeting in May. Now, who I don't want to leave out of this conversation are our friends. Friends who haven't become members yet, especially friends who maybe have been coming for a little while and are getting comfortable here. You might not be ready to make a commitment for the pledge drive for next year, although if you are, that's fantastic. But maybe you want to help out for the rest of this year, which runs through the end of June. So you can ask me or Jean for a pledge form for the remainder of this year. You don't have to be a member to pledge. You can pledge as a friend. We love having pledging friends. So if you're knowing that you really like being here and you want to make a financial commitment to help us to get through those goals that we had for this year, that would be fantastic. So just let one of us know. In the meantime, let's hope for some nicer weather next week, or maybe you're watching this and it already is next week. I hope it's sunny. March is in like a lamb and out like a lion, or is it in like a lion or out like a lamb? I'm not sure. I'm just hoping for better weather. See you guys soon.
Well done.
The reading that our guest speaker has chosen today is from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 25 to 34. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your span of life? And why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes grass of the field, which is alive today, and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? Therefore do not worry, saying, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? For it is the Gentiles who seek all these things, and indeed your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and their righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Steve Danko. I'm Chair of the Finance Committee, and I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, Herdie Baisden. I have known Herdie for probably 30 years now, and we met when we were both members here at the back to probably about 19. Herdie was a member who I was a pretty high-level personnel consultant. I hadn't seen Herdie for 25 years, and then we're talking to Maiden Rock Cider. Where I hear him first, you'll find out he's got a very distinctive voice. This is after his Carol, his ex-wife. And then for him telling me that he was sitting at the time he told me, I think he planted apple trees. Yeah. Herdie has a distinguished record of entrepreneurial and current venture Maiden Rock Apples Winery and Cidery is on track to become one of the leading premium regional craft hard cider producers in Wisconsin and Minnesota. He has also served on the boards as a director and officer of the Wisconsin Apple Growers Association, the Wisconsin Winery Association. He is one of the founding members of the Badger State Winery Cooperative. Couldn't you do it with fewer words? And the Great River Road Wine Trail. For apples and cider became his passion. Herdie worked as an organizational psychologist and a global. His work took him to Bahrain, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Sweden, United Arab Emirates, and the United Kingdom. Herdie and his colleagues assisted Fortune 100 companies and key governmental organizations in selecting and developing talent and promoting organizational culture change. As a key executive, he established consulting offices for Personnel Decisions Incorporated / Korn Ferry International in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta. He also served as interim managing director of Geneva, Switzerland office while living in France. Herdie, it's wonderful to see you again. Thank you for agreeing to talk.
Sure.
If you want, you could do it from down there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve, for that introduction. Sorry for the wordiness of my of the bio there and everything. But it's my pleasure to be here with you today and to see a few faces that I've seen from years past, many years past, as a matter of fact. And I was saying to Steve that I hardly even recognized the building, you know, because it was not this building at the time that I was here. However, it still has the same warmth, it still has the same openness and receptivity that I enjoyed when I was a member here. Unfortunately, moving away and doing all the traveling that Steve talked about, I wasn't able to continue here, but I see this as providing me with the foundation that I needed to pursue my spiritual path in other places and continuing with my interest and involvement in the UU way. I'm here today to talk about vulnerability, to talk about our fear of vulnerability, and to talk about some of the ways that we might want to reframe, restructure, maybe even think differently about vulnerability. You don't have to raise your hands, but there are probably a few people here where the thought of making yourself more vulnerable from an emotional standpoint in some circumstances does not really have a great deal of appeal. And why does it not have a great deal of appeal? Well, because vulnerability involves uncertainty. We don't really know what's going to happen when we expose ourselves. We don't know what will happen if we extend ourselves, if we reach out to someone and they don't really respond in kind, or they disappoint us in some way, that what we had anticipated would happen doesn't really happen. And so we have this tendency to sort of clam up, to put on some armor, and to say that this is really not for me. I was doing a workshop with a noted psychologist once. It was called Connecting with People. And in this Connecting with People workshop, we had an exercise where people were encouraged to look around the room at all of those other people who were there and to decide if there was someone there that you would like to spend more time with, get to know more. Their response, your response could be either yes, no, or maybe. Needless to say, this was not an invitation that some people were looking forward to. But that was it, you know. You could approach somebody and say, yeah, I'd like to spend some more time with you. I'd like to get to know you a little better. And they could look at you and they could say, yes, no, maybe. Let's see what other offers I get. Right. And I could hardly wait myself to have someone ask me so that I could give them a maybe or a no. Because I had this fear that if I really, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, right? And so if someone says that they have an interest in you, then you should have an interest in them, right? I can't tell you how many relationships I got into as mistaken relationships as a result. You like me? Oh, good. Yeah. Let's see what we can. Let's see what we can do. But the point of this exercise was for us to practice some risk-taking, of course, and to realize that we were not going to die that nothing terrible and awful was going to happen, at least nothing that we weren't able to handle. You might be disappointed. You might have some twinges. You might feel, why don't they want to spend time with me? Why can't they make up their mind? And, why am I getting a maybe or a no or whatever? But you find that it is survivable. You find that you can get through it. You learn that there might even be some benefits in it for you. And when you think about vulnerability and our fear of vulnerability, our desire to not want to look bad, to feel like we have to be perfect, to feel that we can't handle rejection, to feel that if people really got to know us, if they really saw us the way that we really are, that we would lose love, we would lose connection, we would be far worse off as a result. Now, I'm not saying that having a fear of vulnerability in and of itself is a bad thing. It certainly is disadvantageous in some ways, but our fear of vulnerability is really a result of, it's a natural reaction. It's part of our humanity. I mean, we, as a result of our humanity, learn that things that are dangerous, things that can hurt us, we want to get away from them. It's the old fight or flight. And first, it was like dealing with things that actually existed, that were in front of us, to things that were representational, to things that were imaginary. We could imagine dangers and terrible and awful things happening and create feelings of fear. So there's nothing to be ashamed of for having a fear of vulnerability, recognizing it as something that is natural, as something that, a reaction that, as a matter of fact, might even be adaptive or beneficial. How authentic do you want to be if you're in a relationship or having experiences where you are being criticized, where you are being victimized? I mean, under those circumstances, yeah, do you want to go out and be authentic, or do you want to figure out what you can do to protect yourself? There are some times when we can put on an air of strength as a result of our fear of vulnerability, It's like I'm an old guy, he parks in handicapped parking, let's rip him off, Let me just show you, how I can stand up for myself and be protective of myself. So you can have some benefits that come from your fear of vulnerability. At the same time, you don't want to create a problem for yourself about this problem. Let's say, for example, you decide that everybody's talking about being more authentic. I don't know what they're talking about. What they mean, be more authentic, be more open, And they tell me that if I'm more open and authentic, that people are going to love me more. Yeah, right. Yeah, tell me about it. They're really going to love me, if I really show them some aspects of myself, But if you have this fear, let's say that you decide that I should not have a fear of vulnerability, and this is bad. that everybody is trying to be more authentic and open and engaging and so forth, and that's what I should be doing as well. How does it benefit you to believe that you shouldn't be scared when you know that you can't predict what the reactions are going to be, and that you might be disappointed, that you might end up having some negative reactions that you don't want to have? So you don't want to create a problem about the problem, accepting the fact that you feel the way you feel, that I don't want to be more authentic in this situation. I don't want to open up in this situation. Or, you know, the last time I tried this, it really didn't work very well. One of the people who talks and teaches and researches vulnerability, Brene Brown, talked about the fact that that there are some things that she's noticed with some men that in some relationships, when they try to be more open, they don't get a lot of positive feedback. You know, and they go, I don't know if I want to hear this or if I want to experience this. Choosing your battles, if you want to put it that way, deciding that you can work on being more open and that you cannot spend time worrying and catastrophizing about not being that way. So how do you get to that point? How do you reach the point where you are more accepting, if you will, of your fear as you pursue your journey towards becoming more vulnerable? How do you do that? Intuition and common sense. Right, intuition and common sense. How do you do that? Well, one of the things that it doesn't help you to do is to spend time worrying and catastrophizing about it. You know what I mean by catastrophizing? It's like making something worse than it seems to be. Sometimes we have suggested that people imagine a badness scale that ranges from 1 to 100 or whatever endpoint you want to use, and to ask yourself, if 1 is no big deal, and 100 or 10 is the worst case scenario, how bad do I think this is likely to be? How bad is it going to be if I'm in this situation and somebody tells me, no, they're not interested? It's disappointing, but is it the worst thing that can happen? If you think about the relationship between what you think and believe and the feelings that result from your thoughts and the behavior that is promoted by the feelings that you have, you can encourage yourself to develop some strategies that might help you to move to a different place. Let's say, for example, you have a situation where someone you think might reject you. Okay? How bad would it be if how bad would it be if that in fact happened? Could you survive it? Have you survived it? You know, in the past. I can't believe that you've gone through life, you know, without ever being rejected by somebody in some situation at some point in time. I knew this kid once who, in second grade at school, he got sick, and he was so sick that he threw up right in the classroom. They said, you know, we think that you probably should go home, you know, right? And he said, okay, you know, but first I need to clean this up. They said, no, you don't need to do that. We'll take care of that. What you need to do is you need to go home and figure out, you know, what's going on that's causing you to get sick. But he insisted that he needed to clean it up before he left to go home. And you think, why? Why? You can imagine that as he grew up, you know, he grew up thinking that he was a person who really needed to be independent, you know, that I don't need anybody to clean up any mess that I make in my life. You know, I will clean up my own messes in my life. How is that going to impact you in terms of your receptivity to help and assistance and love and connection? Well, yeah, but I just don't ever want to ask anybody for nothing, you know? And what do you get as a result? You know, you really make it hard for people. I was in a therapy group as a psychologist in training, and somehow we got onto the discussion of love, and somewhere in that discussion, I ended up saying that, you know, the only person that I was ever sure of who loved me was my grandmother. Okay, well, that was the only person that you are sure of who ever loved you was your grandmother. I said, yeah, that was it. They said, well, why didn't anybody else love you? And I said, I don't know whether they did or not, but my grandmother did. They said, well, where's your grandmother now? They said, she's dead. I said, well, where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? One of the things that I realized was that spending time thinking that my grandmother was the only person who ever loved me resulted in me thinking and feeling that I didn't have a whole lot going for myself. And that if I thought about my thinking, I could figure out how I could move to a different place. So let me ask you a couple of questions here that I want you to think about as you think about your thinking. What do you have to do to prove that you are worth loving, being loved? What do you have to do to earn love? We say that we all want, need love and belonging, what do we need to do to earn it? Do you believe that you need to earn love? Do you believe that you are worthy of being loved? And if you don't, or if you're not sure, how can you adjust your thinking so that you really believe that you are worthy of being loved? So somebody said, hey, you know what? You can't prove that you have any worth. You know, you can't, there are these people going around saying that you're worthwhile just because you exist. Yeah, right. You know, it's a matter of choice. What if you choose to think that you are not worthy of being loved and that you have to earn it? Okay, so you got to earn love. What are you going to do? How do you earn it? And how often? And how hard do you work? Maybe it's a matter of belief. Maybe it's a matter of belief. There's some research that's been done about how the thoughts that we have impact our feelings and our behaviors. And you know, if you believe that you are worthy of being loved, what is that going to cause you to do? Do loving things. Be more open to being loved. And helping you to give love. Okay. All right. The same can be applied to others as well. To accept yourself more unconditionally puts you in a position to be able to accept others unconditionally. And with that, I will leave you to ponder.
Last year, in I think it was the springtime, we had that service that was about beauty. And, you know, if you were here, you might remember that we weren't singing, or at least we were singing in masks, and there weren't very many people. And we were outside, there was a group of us, a small group of us, and we sang this song that we're about to sing. And it was Beauty of the Dancer. It's written by songwriter who's local, Sarah Thompson. And she is a wonderful lyricist, a wonderful musical composer. She writes very melodic songs and does really beautiful music. And so when we had done it, I had a lofty idea that it would be this sort of wall of sound. But there weren't very many of us. And I was still really grateful that we had that opportunity to sing. But now here we are again, and there's more of us. And so I want to give it another chance. And so I'm going to teach you, and we all are, the chorus section of this. And so, you'll pick it up. Just follow along when you can. You see the beauty of the dancer. You hear the beauty of the song. You feel the beauty all around you. You're standing right where you belong. You are. You are the beauty of the dancer. You are the beauty of the song. You are the beauty all around you. You're standing right where you belong. Beauty above you, beauty below you, beauty around you, beauty within you, beauty above you, beauty below you, beauty all around you, beauty within you, beauty above you, beauty below you, beauty all around you, beauty within you, beauty above you, beauty below you, beauty all around you, beauty within you. You see the beauty of the dancer. You see the beauty of the song. You see the beauty all around you. You're wonder, where do you belong? You are the beauty of the dancer. You are the beauty of the song. You are the beauty all around you. You're standing right where you
Please, we will now extinguish the chalice. If you'll join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we go, may we remember that we were never meant to make it through this life alone. Vulnerability is a doorway, friends. Those wounded and tender pieces of ourselves help us return to each other. What seems wounded or unworthy when shared becomes our strength. May it be so. Go in peace.